Oh boy, it's February, so you know love is in the air. So I'd better hold my breath.
1 hour later, 2 hours later, 3 hours later.
Oh boy. I think I set a new record. I'm a little lightheaded now, so I should probably call a doctor. Wait a minute, I am a doctor of love. You idiot, you can't be a doctor. You've been divorced. It hurt really, really bad, and I didn't expect it to hurt me that much saying it out loud. But you're not here to unpack my weird emotional baggage. We're here to unpack the weird emotional baggage of 500 Days of Summer and why having a dream fantasy relationship can be toxic to real ones. 500 Days of Summer is the story about Tom, who falls in love with this girl named Summer, and you spend the entire movie watching their relationship slowly come together and grow, then you watch it implode in your fucking face. I remember seeing the trailer for this when I was in high school, and I was like, wow, this kind of speaks to me, because this stupid asshole was easily manipulated by the indie film movie craze. But to me, this movie is a masterclass in storytelling and the subversion done right. Because this movie isn't a love story, it's actually a good story about understanding toxic ideas we get from love stories in our media. So our main character, Tom, is a hopeless romantic. He has a weird view on love. He feels incomplete until he finds the one. Tom watched the movie The Graduate, where he takes Dustin Hoffman stopping a wedding as an act of true love, which is not what you're supposed to get at the end of the movie whatsoever. You're supposed to feel as uncomfortable as they are in the back of that bus. So, Tom, as you can see, lives in a fantasy world. I mean that in two ways. His ideas on true love are absurd, but I literally also think the world and setting of 500 Days of Summer is in a mythical version of America. So this is going to be a brief tangent here real quick because there was no other place I could put this, but you can get a big apartment in an urban city area with a chalkboard where you can do shitty stereotypical indie movie montage bullshit for like a salary of working at a card company. Like, I'm sorry, I know I shouldn't go too heavy on this, but things like Friends do this as well. But maybe it's because I live in what I assume is the same kind of salary Tom has and have to share an apartment with another person and a cat, who are awesome and I love them both. But alright, so let's go back to talking about Tom and his bad views on love and relationships. Before I go on, I'm not a relationship expert. I'm just a doctor of love with a PhD in lies. I'm just going by my own personal views and my own personal experiences. My favorite thing about this movie is how they tell the story. It's told in a non-linear storytelling format where you see the beginning of Tom's infatuation with Summer, the start of their relationship, the end of their relationship, and the fallout, almost like it's happening all at the same time. In every other movie of this kind, they would see it and you would look at this amazing romantic love story where they fall apart, but then magically come back together and realize they're meant to be together. But here, it's not there. And they actually explain why. And it's because Tom is an asshole. Tom is what we call a nice guy TM. A nice guy is a term used to dunk on shitty dudes who do nice things for women only to get stuff. Sex. The stuff is sex. We all know at least one person who says, I'm a nice guy, but girls don't want to date me. Spoiler alert, it's because you're not really a nice guy. Nice guys want to claim they're doing nice things because they want to do it out of the kindness of their heart, but they're really doing it just so they can get something out of it. And if you're doing it like that, you're not being genuine, you're just kind of being an asshole. Nice guys usually, but not always, complain about the friend zone. So the friend zone is a magical fantasy world of excuses that nice guys make to why women don't like them or want to be with them. The reason why nice guys often get friend zoned is because either they never tell the woman how they feel and so she just assumes they're friends, like, you know, how any sane human being would, or he tells her how he feels. But she says she wants to be friends and he takes it as an assault on his honor. usually either getting mad and never talking to her again for using him, or he doesn't stop trying to pursue her even though she made what she wanted very clear. Another thing nice guys do is like play victim, and it's like really weird, and say weird shit like, why do pretty girls think they can get away with hurting guys, and other kind of sexist things. It's really weird. Like, check this scene out.
Why is it pretty girls think they can treat people like crap and get away with it?
Centuries of reinforcement.
You know what? Screw her. I don't care. She wants to be that way. Fine.
What makes Tom a nice guy TM is the way he acts and treats Summer. But that is the problem here. Tom is doing all these nice guy things in hopes Summer will start a relationship with him. Before they start talking, Tom is weirdly pining over Summer and making up reasons why she doesn't want to be with him. And he calls her a skank and stuff like that.
She said it was good. Emphasis on the good. She basically said she spent the weekend having sex with some guy she met at the gym. Skank, whatever. I'm over it.
What the hell is wrong with you?
Yet, he still insists that she's his dream girl. Tom gets called out by her when she overhears his friends talking about the situation when they start their fling. I mean, even his friends and family call him out for putting Summer on this weird pedestal of being this perfect dream girl.
Hey, Tom. Look, I know you think that she was the one, but I don't. No, I think you're just remembering the good stuff. Next time you look back, I really think you're so again.
Which is reasonable. Tom is kind of being shallow and expecting her to be this person that he imagined. There's also a scene in the film where Tom gets punched in the face defending Summer's honor, in air quotes. So the two are at a bar, and this douche tries to hit on Summer. He's coming on pretty heavy, but she's ignoring him and politely declining his advances. But this guy's also making fun of Tom. The douchebag walks away, realizing Summer isn't really interested, still mocking Tom. As he walks away, Tom sucker punches him, and then the guy knocks him out.
Can't believe this is your boyfriend.
What are you doing?
You got knocked the fuck out, man!
When they head back to Summer's place, she expresses why she was upset with what Tom did at the bar. Tom gets defensive. He was doing it for her, but it really wasn't for Summer, and Summer had the situation controlled. Then they get into the fight about what their relationship is. At this point, Tom thinks he's falling in love, but Summer just sees this as a fling. The boundaries were never really set, and that falls on both of them for lack of communication. But what Tom did was not listen to Summer at all whatsoever, because when they first meet, she explains why she doesn't believe in love and serious relationships.
Okay, let me break it down for you.
Break it down.
Okay. I like being on my own. Relationships are messy and people's feelings get hurt. Who needs it? We're young. We live in one of the most beautiful cities in the world. Might as well have fun while we can and save the serious stuff for later.
And so when Summer is trying to explain this idea again, now he blows up and doesn't communicate with her and tells her she isn't the only one to decide this. There's two people. He screams they're a couple and that's final and walks away.
I like you, Tom. I just don't want to release.
Well, you're not the only one that gets a say in this. I do too. And I say we're a couple. God damn it.
So there's a lot to unpack here, and the one thing I will definitely put on them both is that was a lack of communication about what their relationship is. This is the first domino to fall to set up their drifting and falling apart of their relationship. They're both at fault, which is reasonable in most serious relationships, and not just because of one person, but both of them, whether it be the lack of communication or just not being compatible. But the problem with this scene is what Tom did specifically. He's not taking Summer's feelings into consideration, which, because we're watching it as an audience member, we see that this was probably a bad call. In essence, this conversation is a small thing in a bigger problem, and that Tom is not really in love with Summer herself, but the idea of Summer. I know I just sounded like it was some Inception-style bullshit, but what I'm saying is his love for her is only skin deep. He immediately thinks she's the one because he falls in love with her loving the Smiths. This line literally explains why his relationship will fail.
We talked about banana fish for like 20 minutes. We're so compatible, it's insane. She's not like I thought at all. She's amazing.
Oh boy.
What?
Just because some cute girl likes the same bizarro crap you do, That doesn't make her your soulmate, Tom.
Like I said, before even dating Summer, he starts to make things up about her, and that's kind of weird. But when he does start his thing with Summer, he doesn't really listen to her. She clearly states that she doesn't believe in true love and doesn't want anything serious, but he just keeps trying to push it on her. Tom thinks that he isn't going to be complete until he meets the one. He just sees Summer as the manic pixie dream girl. We've talked about this before, but the manic pixie dream girl is a type of female character often depicted as whimsical, quirky, sometimes eccentric fancy woman who saves the male protagonist from himself. She usually aids in his transformation without ever showing any real agency of her own. But in real life, you can never push that idea on anyone. It's toxic and unhealthy to do so. You can't expect to be fixed just because someone pops into your life. Tom thinks Summer's gonna complete him, you know, because she's quirky and wears vintage clothing and probably plays the ukulele on her free time. I literally just bought this ukulele for this bit in particular. But, spoiler alert, she's not, and they don't end up together. Tom has to face this reality in one of my favorite scenes ever in movies. So Tom bumps into Summer after their breakup, and it doesn't seem awkward. They spend the day talking on the train and having a good night at the wedding they both go to. Summer invites Tom to her party, and he's excited because he thinks it's his chance to get back with Summer. But as he enters the room, the scene shifts to a split screen. At the bottom of the split screen, one says reality, and the other one says expectations. You watch as Tom slowly realizes that what he wanted isn't actually going to happen, as Summer has moved on and is about to get married, shattering any chance of them getting back together. Scene is one of the most relatable scenes that has ever been made in film that everyone has had, because we have all had this happen to them. Sure, it may not be a relationship or whatever, but we've had expectations for an outcome, but the reality is very different. But this was the kick in the ass Tom needed to make him grow up. He realizes he can't live finding the one who's going to just magically fix him. He needs to fix himself to be able to be with that one. He starts taking risks. He quits his job at the card company to actually pursue being an architect. Yeah, he gets shot down a few times, but he keeps pushing forward. At the climax of the film, Summer and Tom bump into each other, and they finally have an actual, honest conversation about their relationship. Tom asked how she knew the guy she married was the one, and she says this.
Just happened.
Right, but that's what I don't understand. What just happened?
I just woke up one day and I knew.
Knew what?
What I was never sure of with you.
That is an honest answer you can get from anyone. She found something she never found in Tom, and that's okay. Tom and Summer just weren't meant for each other. It happens. Tom finally gets some kind of closure and feels like he can move on. I thoroughly enjoy this story a lot because of how they handle Tom. You aren't supposed to see him as a hero. You don't really root for him to get back with Summer because you watched this story unfold. There's also another scene when Tom's friend Paul talks about his girlfriend Robin.
I think technically the girl of my dreams would probably have like a really bodacious rack, maybe different hair. Probably, she'd probably be a little more into sports, but truthfully, Robin's better than the girl of my dreams. She's real.
He makes the point that he could never put his girlfriend up on this pedestal of a dream girl, because he knows she's not Beyonce or Jennifer Hudson belting it out in front of Eddie Murphy, but is actually real and in front of him. To Paul, the idea of a dream girl is dumb because he knows Robin isn't perfect, but, well, neither is he. He knows that they'll always have to work on stuff, and that's what makes her perfect, is they can communicate with each other. This is another film like Scott Pilgrim where I would call it a grow the fuck up story. It's a story where you can feel sympathy for Tom, you can understand his grief and how he reacts as a natural after the breakup or getting your heart broken, but you never don't think what happened to him wasn't partly his fault. My favorite part of this movie is that in any other movie that had a romantic comedy vibe, the main lead never really feels like they are held accountable for any of their negative actions. Here, Tom is held accountable, and he understands that the problem wasn't just Summer, but he had a part in it too. Tom realizes he needs to work on himself. I live for this shit, man. Love is messy and love is weird and really awkward. It shows us after breakups we can feel entitled and angry at the person, but have to realize that maybe it's not just her fault, but also just both of our faults in our own ways. And these are my favorite parts of 500 Days of Summer because it shows the concept of the one is kind of a fallacy, and I think that's really important because at a young age it's shoved down our throats. From Disney films to romantic comedies to even sitcoms. They all kind of throw this concept of the one out there in the world that is gonna help us be our true selves. Instead, this movie shows us we learn to be better for the people we love. Not the people we fall in love with will make us better. I watch this film at least once every year. I love this movie that much. 500 Days of Summer isn't a love story. It tells you right at the beginning of the film. This is how Jordan Gordon-Levitt explains what the film is actually about 10 years later.
And I think if you ask what's the message of the movie, what I take away most is you have to listen. You have to listen and you have to understand your biases. And even when you're biased towards believing one thing, you have to really listen. And when you hear something that doesn't fit into what you wanted to hear, you still have to update your thinking.
And I agree with them. It's a movie that tells you how communication is important to a successful relationship. Understanding and listening to your partner is how you grow to be better with them. It's Valentine's Day when this video comes out, hopefully, and if not, my bad bro, things probably just got hectic. But I think 500 Days of Summer is an important piece of media that we should unpack and talk about during this time. Because, like I said, love is messy and it's not perfect. And I think it's pretty neat just to look at it through the eyes of this film. Hey guys, thanks for watching. I realized after I took down all my set, I forgot to record my outro. So this is just a quick one. I just want to say, hey, thanks for watching my video. If you liked it, give it a like, share it around if you think it's interesting, and subscribe to hear more of my bad hot takes. You can also follow me on Twitter, where I also make really shitty bad jokes and even more bad hot takes. And if you want to support me, you can support me on Patreon. The links are both down below. And just as always, keep on keeping on, and whatever you're going through, you got this, cowboy. Pew pew.